All right, guys, Music Universal Language Podcast is the 17th episode. Welcome to the podcast, one-man band, Randy Olinger, RCO. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you?
Good. Thanks for being on the podcast. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I was just saying in the intro, you're the first one-man band I've had on here. I've had quite a few musicians and whatnot, always trying to promote original music, and I think like we must have some similar influences because you definitely have a lot of that slide, swampy blues, foot stomping thing going on. So yeah, what are some of your influences? Right off the bat.
Yeah, right off the bat, man. That's the one question, right? I mean, to sum it up, dude, it'd be like I grew up listening to a lot of Elvis from my mom, you know what I mean? That's definitely where a lot of that comes from. And
the rock and roll, country kind of backbeat sort of thing.
Yeah. And then, my older brother was a teenager in the mid to late 80s and stuff like that. So through him, I got introduced to all the awesome, 80s metal and stuff like that. And then I was a teenager during the grunge explosion, you know what I mean? Which I feel is was the perfect time to experience that. So like that, all of those things are pretty much like what make
cultivated
what I do, essentially.
Well, and that's what, I was just checking out. Well, I checked it out when it first came out, but the latest thing you put out, that's almost like had a more indie rock feel. Like I really liked it too. It had the one-man band, but it was a little less swampy feel, I want to say.
Yeah.
Kind of the,
sure.
What's the Ghost one? The Ghost song?
Oh yeah, Ghost Alive.
Yeah. That was, so is that kind of like pulling from that grungy thing or what
Definitely.
Do you think? Yeah,
for sure, man.
Experimenting.
Yeah. Chasing my own thing for sure, because early on during my first two releases of the one-man band thing, it was, more straight up, a little bluesier with a touch of rock in there. And,
right.
I was making my own drums during the first two recordings. So it definitely had that, I hate to say, limited percussion vibe to it, but it was more of a rootsy approach to what.
Kind of like a raw sound. And
yeah. And for the last, release and what I'm doing now, I'm using real drums, which allows me to play what ultimately is more me, which is, some rock and roll, because I have a metal background to begin with.
Hell yeah.
All
right. Oh, sorry. Keep talking.
Yeah. So that's how I got to be doing what I'm doing. I started playing in metal bands and stuff.
Yeah. Let's get into that. Like, so what's, how far back did you, when did you first start playing an instrument or maybe really getting into music, like your brother's influence or what have you?
Yeah, I started playing guitar at 13.
Right on.
I kind of grew up with a Southern Baptist background. So in the, church, there was always music and stuff like that. My grandparents had a piano in their house, and I would always write stuff on the piano. And then one year I asked for a guitar for Christmas, and
And you're originally from Kansas? No, Texas.
Denver.
You're originally from Denver? What?
Yeah.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
Close. Okay, cool.
All
right. That's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I went to Southern Baptist Church, because my family, came from back east and whatnot.
Right on.
Yeah.
So church music, gospel, all
yeah,
that
man.
jazz.
Yeah. Elvis, gospel, all that stuff was always around as a kid. And
cool.
But yeah, I was always going over to my grandma's house, messing with her piano and writing stuff.
Right. Coming up with
on her piano.
That's cool, man. And so then you convince them to get you a guitar, and this is when you're kind of like, I have taste in music now, and or something.
Yeah, man. And it's always been more leaning towards creating music too. You know, when I was teaching myself to play, I was like listening to Metallica, you know, and
Right.
figuring out riffs and stuff like that. And I do that for like 10 minutes. And then I'd be like, what can I come up with? You know what I mean? It was
That's
always like
right.
more interested in what I could do with the guitar versus what I could learn with it, you know?
Yeah. So it's safe to say, yeah, you kind of like never were the type to learn a song note for note. You just like you learned enough to be inspired by it or influenced by it. So you could like
Yeah.
I could write a Metallica-ish song if I tried, sort of thing.
Yeah, totally.
What some
Like,
of the first ones might have sounded like a song or something, but
yeah. Yep.
yeah, I could totally relate to that, man, because it's almost yeah, the interest is in creating something original as opposed to learning how to play someone's song exactly the same way, what have you.
Definitely. And it like that approach to learning guitar like haunts me now, because when I'm like, I want to cover this song, it never ever works out, dude. Like I'm horrible at playing other people's songs because of
Right.
how I don't know, maybe it's an attention deficit situation, but I don't know, man.
Well, and I think it's probably, yeah, just like the fact of why you wanted to learn music and then you taught yourself how to do it. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's probably like certain artists, like you could obviously do like a Byram song and it's going to be a similar style. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to, I don't know, something that just doesn't fall into the same, I don't like style or instrumentation, so to speak. But
For sure.
you know what I mean? Because, yeah, there's something to be said with that, though, because it's like, it's almost like you have an infatuation with just writing something or creating something. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the instrument's your tool, basically, to get it out of you. Oh,
I lost you.
that's cool. Oh, that's your profile. There's a camera thing. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
All right, so you're like 13. You're teaching yourself whatever you can, metal. Any other bands that stick out? 80s metal or Metallica's obviously a huge one.
What's that?
Metallica's obviously a huge one.
For sure, man. That was that was like what my brother, he would like come into my room, and be like, check this out, throw me a cassette tape and throw it in the Walkman, and like the Metallica and Justice for All album is one of those like things that like at the age I listened to it turned my brain completely sideways about music and composition and just like technicality and all of that shit. That was an essential album, and
right on.
Yeah, for sure.
How much older is your brother? Like, is he like 10 years older or like?
He was 8 years older than me.
Wow, that's a pretty big difference. Almost like uncle-ish type, watches over you sort of thing.
Yeah,
he's super cool to you, obviously.
Yeah, I definitely like looked up to him. Like he's a little kid. Like, oh man, dude, like what's he listening to? And if he'd go, he'd leave. And I'd go like rummage through his records and shit, and like put on his headphones, and he'd come back from like shooting hoops or some shit and be like, you in my shit for you.
Right, try to put it back exactly the same and shit.
Yeah.
Right on. So, were you just playing alone a lot, or did you meet other people to collaborate with, or start a band?
Messed around with a couple bands that never really did anything. That was like during high school.
Right.
I had like a metal band and then like this kind of ska punk thing that we did, and
that's fucking cool.
Yeah, we rehearsed a bunch. We never played any shows, and thank God for that.
What was the ska punk band? I'm curious. Do you know remember what you're called?
It was the Uptown Clowns.
Hell yeah. No, my high school had a big like ska punk scene. I don't know. How old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
41.
Okay. So yeah, you're like 6 years older than me. So I I
Yeah,
guess.
close
Yeah.
enough.
So you were probably, yeah. So you were like graduating when that punk ska thing was like coming big in like the mid to late '90s.
Yep,
Wasn't that kind of like
for
Boss
sure.
Tones and
Oh yeah, dude.
Rancid and No Effects and yeah, for sure.
Yep. Oh yeah,
Cool.
dude. All of those bands.
Fuck it. But that your band never saw the light of day or never played a show. And
No, man. It
luckily,
was. I tried really hard to get people in high school to take that seriously. You know what I mean? I was always the one that was like, "Yo, dude, we can do this. Like, we just got to
right.
show up and practice." But like, you motherfuckers just want to like get together and like hang out, and that's cool. But like, you know, and then you're like dealing with like insecurities and stuff like that. Like our drummer was like just learning how to play drums and stuff like that. So like there was never that confidence with some of the people that I was playing with in high school. And
Yeah.
you know,
When everyone's younger or some people want to do it just for like the appeal, the image of it. Even and they can't really play or some type of thing, but
yeah,
high school. Yeah. So yeah, you actually from then you were like serious about making music. You're like, I want to do something with this.
definitely. Yeah.
How did that transcend like out of high school? Like what'd you do next?
What I did next was join the Navy.
Oh no shit! Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Late '90s, joining the Navy.
Yeah, couldn't get anybody to take, music seriously. So I was like, well, I need to leave Colorado, because I didn't have any interest in going to college. And military in my family was, my brother was in the Navy, my dad was a Marine, my grandpa was in the Army. It was just, I was like, I'll join the Navy and go see the world and shit,
Right on.
which is what I did. And I tell that story a lot from the stage when I'm playing for people who don't know me, because it's not because I'm a veteran or whatnot, but because I'm like, I started really focusing on writing songs when we would go out to sea,
Oh, wow. Huh.
Brought a guitar out to sea. And like, that's when I really, put the intention into it, writing lyrics, writing songs and stuff like that. And halfway through my enlistment, I just made the decision. I'm like, I'm going to finish my time and then we'll go back to Colorado and I'm going to start a band. And that's what I did.
So, and you get like really long periods of out at sea and you can just play all day sort of thing? Is that?
Well, the way it worked for the department on the ship that I worked in is that we would, we worked 12 on, 12 off. So,
okay.
For the most part, I was working nights. So,
maybe play while at work and.
Yeah, it was either that or go to the gym during your free time. Like everybody has a watch or a shift, and it's like some people are 6 on, 6 off, depending on who you work for and whatnot. So it's just like a job out to sea. You don't go home.
Yeah, exactly. You're temporarily staying somewhere else when you're not actually working the ship, basically.
Yeah.
Are you actually staying on the ship too? Are you staying like back and forth, like land to ship sort of thing?
We go out to sea for, around 6 months at a time.
Oh shit. Makes sense.
Yeah, so we're, you're out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week until you pull into a port,
Crazy.
And so I would work my shift, and I worked in the intelligence sector of the ship, and which attached to that is the photography department or division or whatever. We were under the same umbrella as far as like how the ship operates. So when I would get off my shift, I would have access to the photo shop, which is where I kept my guitar and amp. And I would go in there when I was done working or whatever and just fucking write songs every single night because it was like, what the fuck else am I gonna do?
Right, take advantage of the time. And what? Yeah. So how many years did you serve?
4.
4 years. Cool. So that gave you just like tons of time. This is when you were like really trying to. Do you think you got some great songs out of that period? At least like a handful, or?
For sure. I mean, there's a couple songs from that, era of my life that I still play now.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I have a song called Rant and Roar, which is like a sailor song.
Right.
The term rant and roar comes from, so it's old sailor shit. And like I wrote that in the Navy, and then I put different guitar work over it once I got out. That song's been on a couple different records, like a band that I played in, and then a solo record. I still play that song.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Right. I don't know if it's good or not, but
and it's like it reminds you of a place in time, but you're kind of like, the lyrics kind of coincide with who you were at that time or what you were doing and all that jazz.
Sure. Yeah, and it's a good segue from the stage, like, hey, I'm so and so and blah blah blah. I wrote songs in the Navy, and here's one that like.
Right, that's cool, man. Works. You're a real fucking sailor, man. That's awesome. Or you were at one point in time.
For sure, man. I think that is. I hate to use the word proud about that, but like it is cool because it is something that like I've always been in love with the ocean. Yeah. Going out to sea is like, a lot of people can say, oh, I love the ocean, and that's great, but like actually going out and living on it,
experience it like that, yeah.
Night after night, dude, like definitely changed me as a person, without question, man.
See any like awesome whales or animals out there?
Dude, definitely. Some of the cooler things that I saw or witnessed were like flying fish.
Oh, right on.
These fish that like sail, like zip across the surface of the ocean. That was really cool. When I was in, I don't know what the Navy does now, but when I was in, dude, it was okay to dump trash over the side of the boat, which is not funny, is super terrible.
Which we see the problem with now, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
So when we would dump like, leftover food and garbage and stuff like that, there were a few times I saw sharks like come swim through it,
Right, yeah. That's cool.
Like, eat some leftover beef cubes.
I mean, food makes sense, at least it's, biodegradable. Something's going to eat it, But
it had to, in order, the rules were at the time, you had to be 12 miles off the coast to dump trash, and it had to sink, which I don't think is any better. But,
okay, 12 miles. Yeah, that's good for it. All right. So
ridiculous, man. I really, even as an 18, 19-year-old kid, man, that like crushed me that like we were doing shit like that, regardless of how they justified it sinking or whatever the hell. Like it just did not make sense to me,
Well, when the ship that big, exactly how much you're dumping, with the amount of waste you guys create, right? So you're like, shit, yeah. That's crazy, man. And
I know,
man. That's even nothing compared to like, a major city or something. But
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Again, yeah, we see the problem with that. Not that it never, that was, who knows, like a piss in the ocean, literally, because we've been doing that shit for a long time, obviously.
Yeah. You know what, dude? And that was quite a long time ago, and we live in a different world now. And I would like to think that they're trying to make that situation right,
I would hope so. I would hope that'd be the obvious thing or some type of regulation.
Definitely.
Who knows with regulations nowadays, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
All right, so you got back to Denver, and you're like, what, 22, 23?
Yeah, 22. Mm-hmm.
You're like, you're serious about music. You got a lot of songs under your belt, And what do you just kind of like go out, start meeting people, open mic thing, or?
No, man, I had a couple buddies, you know, that I was in high school with that I had stayed in touch with that were interested. You know, they didn't really have anything, you know, super important going on. They just were working normal jobs and stuff like that. And
Never left
just,
Denver, sort of thing.
yeah, it just so happened to be one dude was a guitar player, one guy was a bass player, and another guy was the drummer. And it was the perfect ingredients for this metal band that we wanted to start. You know what I mean? 2 guitar players, bass and drums. And
Hell yeah.
I had all these lyrics that went with all of these songs. And, you know, we did that for probably 3 years before all of those dudes went away and became 3 different dudes, which ended up being Workhorse, my metal band that like most people know me for, I guess, you know.
And so that was like after the 3 years of going through it with those guys?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
it was like a revolving door, like, you know what I mean? Like different periods, one of those dudes would go away, and then like
different bass player. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and then some of those songs ended up being with the Workhorse criteria, what have you.
Yep.
And then how long? Yeah. So what is this? Where are we at now? Like early 2000s ish.
Yeah, it's like 2005 is when we played our first show. My first live performance was in 2005 at the Lion's Lair with Workhorse.
Oh, no shit. So you're 25-ish, 6-ish?
Yeah, 25 maybe.
So shit, you've been writing and practicing and jamming with these guys for a good time before. I guess, you know, metal music, you got to be fucking tight, right? It's not like punk rock or...
Well, it was really interesting because, you know, like I was telling you that like over time it was just a revolving door until we got this group solidified. Well, it wasn't more than like a month before that Lions Lair show that we were actually that group. It was like we had got like our second guitar player Jay ditching, and we practiced for a week, and he had some experience playing with other bands and booking shows and stuff, which I definitely had none, you know. And he's like, "We're ready. I'm booking us a show." And I was like, I love this guy, dude, because he's taking it serious and going the extra mile. You know what I mean? And
yeah, and he's got experience, and obviously he like felt good enough about what you guys were playing.
Totally.
That you could do it live.
Yeah, I always did because I had been doing it for so long. You know what I mean? I like started in the Navy, like it was like 2 years of that on the last half of my enlistment. And then like I got out, and then it was like 3 years of like trying to form a good band. And like, then it was like, oh, we got a drummer, we got a bass player. These guys are sticking around. And then Jay joined the band, and it was like the final piece of the puzzle, and he booked us a show. Yeah.
And it's the legendary Lions Lair. I played there, man. That place is cool. Kind of a hole in the wall. It's still standing, right? They still do their thing? Well,
I don't think you're ever going to get rid of the Lions Lair, man.
Fuck. Even right now, they're open during a pandemic. Who knows? Yeah, I think I played there one time. Okay, so that's cool. Fucking, all right. 05, first show, Lions Lair. And was this like the beginning of a lot of shows, or just kind of easing into it a little?
No, man, we were off and running at that point. You know, it was like
all these years of finally coming together, and
it was like, in my eyes, dude, like everything that like I envisioned thinking through this whole process, the band Workhorse was like, and to me still is, like, we're still writing music and whatnot. Like, that is my band, you know what I mean? Like, not my band, but like, that's like, when people are like, well, you start another band or whatever, I'm like, I already have a band, you know? Like, we just don't play as much as we do because we all live in different states and stuff, you know? But we were rocking and rolling for years, man. We even got like a A Little Love from MTV.
No
They,
shit.
they they used a couple of our songs on some Bam Margera show. Like
Yeah. What was it? He had a couple shows, I guess. Well, Bam was
yeah,
one of them, and
it was his Unholy Union series
oh,
on MTV.
and what was that one band he always used? I didn't really like him too much. That weird. I can't remember that like pop metal.
Oh, him?
Is that what it is? Yeah, that's it. Right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
So you guys were a couple of your songs were featured just like a little sound clip while the show's
yeah.
going on.
They used a couple of our songs for during scenes
Sweet.
during live scenes, which is really really cool as a band to go through that. Like,
Hell yeah.
all gathered around the TV because they're like, it's going to be this episode, and
And this
it
is
was
before, like, yeah, you couldn't just stream it anywhere or just watch the clip of
right.
just the song. And so you still get, like, royalties or I guess maybe more while it was going on? Or
No, because here's the shitty
Uh-oh.
side of that whole situation is that despite all of us really wanting to make it in the music business, none of us had a fucking clue about what that really meant. And we were, dealing with MTV license agreements and like BMI registrations all on the fly because we hadn't even touched that yet. Like we got discovered by the MTV people playing at the Bluebird Theater for this Japanese metal band.
No
So
shit.
yeah, we didn't have any of our shit together. You know what I mean? We had a recording and like a good live show, and like we got a good opportunity to open up for this Japanese metal band, and some MTV dudes were there and they were like, yo, what's up? We like your band and we want to work with you. And we're like, I
We don't know
didn't even
nothing, but yes.
I didn't even take the dude serious that night because we just played a Bluebird show. It was like our biggest show ever. And I'm like, we got done playing and I'm drinking, having a blast. And this dude's
Right.
like, hey, I'm from MTV. And I'm like, yeah, you are. Like, what are you doing here in Denver? But they were setting up.
You made the
All those
contact.
guys were setting up shop in Denver at the time, unbeknownst to us.
Because it's like a metal scene was kind of getting big there or something?
No, dude, like a couple of the dudes that were associated or working with Bam Margera and all of that crew were like setting up at the time a record label that Bam Margera was going to create for bands that he liked. And they were like interested in us, and like they were, in order to get the ball rolling with us as soon as possible, they were like, here's what we can do now. Like the label's not up and running, but like we want to use your music for this show that Bam is doing for MTV. And like it was like we like you, we're gonna throw you a bone now, but when this label materializes, we're interested in putting you on there. You know what I mean? That was what they were telling us, and we were fucking stoked, man.
They lured you in. Wait, so you basically didn't own the rights, and so that's even
Oh yeah. As far as the royalty things are concerned, I don't know what it is that we signed. We might have just been like, because we were thinking that like we were going to continue working with these people, like we were like, go ahead and use the music. So I don't know if we're supposed to be collecting on that. It's always been a complete mystery to us in the band, and it's something that we could iron out if we had the money to get an entertainment lawyer just to investigate. I don't think MTV did anything shady. We probably just handed over the rights for them to use the music for the show
without mechanical royalties. Well, was it 2 songs you said?
Yeah, I think we gave them 2 songs. They used one in a couple different episodes.
And so is that song like available through you guys like on your digital stuff? What song is it?
Oh, what did they use? I think they used a song called
too long ago.
Huh?
Forward?
No, 4, like the number FOUR.
Cool.
Which was on our first release, because we only had that one release and it's not available anymore.
That's what I was gonna say. Like if you could like get that online, that would definitely help you in any sort of way. But even though you'd be kind of like claiming it after the fact, obviously it's your guys' stuff. Wait, so this all happened? So this is like within a year or so of with Workhorse being officially named, Jay still rocking, and you guys are just gigging the hell out of the area, and you get an opportunity to open for this band.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what, the next day they were like, no, we were serious about the song and stuff. They got a CD or something.
Yeah, they were. Thank God, my buddy Jay, the other guitar player, had a little more ability to pay attention to what was going on, because like I said, I didn't take it very serious, and Jay was the one that was like, okay, me and you will exchange contact information and handle this. And so like they were going back and forth. They came to a couple more shows of ours. We met with them at their spot in Denver. So we had correspondence going for quite a while, and things in that camp, like the Bam Margera camp, started to unravel about that time. There was like, I think he was going into rehab, and like the label just like crumbling. It just never took off. And like,
if you think about it, it kind of that makes sense with the show and everything. Cause it was like one thing after another, the Jackass, and they had all these side shows. Bam had 2 or 3 shows, and I guess they all kind of got too fucked up a little bit.
Yeah, they were partying pretty hard, man.
Now he's on Dr. Phil or something. I saw Bam. He looks like hell.
Dude, I don't indulge in too much celebrity derailment, man, but I did witness that one because I've always been interested in those guys because of the history, Right. That was some serious unraveling on Instagram.
I didn't watch the whole episode, but I got the gist of it, I suppose. But it is kind of a trip to see him years later, and you're like, oh shit, what? So man, that's crazy though. So that was like a huge thing for your band, and it kind of like just continued with your success in a sense. You guys kept getting bigger shows, and
well, we continued doing what we were doing. It kind of like that really sort of took the wind out of our sails, man, because we were all thinking that like this unbelievable bone had been thrown at us, like
right.
And because of that never materialized, and like having that in front of you, it kind of took the wind out of the sails for the band a little bit. And so
kind of like the momentum, you guys didn't like, because he's like, oh, we already got this awesome opportunity, so maybe we don't have to like bust our ass at live shows as much, sort of thing. That sort of
well, thing? I mean, we continued doing what we were doing for quite a few years, like we put our head down and continued to work hard, but like in the back of everyone's head, I feel like it was kind of like, God damn it, man.
We
like,
had that awesome thing, and it just never.
Because you can't help to think, as hard as the music business is, like I could have continued playing in that band and doing what we were doing, and like it could have never materialized. You know what I mean? Like those once in a lifetime opportunities, dude, are sometimes what it takes to really make it in this business. And we all recognize that, and to have that kind of fall through the cracks is kind of depressing,
When it just comes back to like all on who you know, because it's obviously you guys were good enough. You're a good band, and it's just like how many artists are out there, they just don't get the right person to hear them, or even if they do hear them, like your situation, the thing just kind of falls apart, and it's like, I'm sure Bam was probably still into most of the bands that he wanted to sign, but who knows?
Sure.
I think he went like bankrupt and all that shit, so who knows? This is a celebrity typical story, whatever, but Okay, so how long did so actively Workhorse went to like maybe 2010ish or
Yeah, something like that for sure, dude. And like, we kind of disbanded for a minute, and then we ultimately ended up reforming as a different group with an extra member for an album, and that was great. And that band was called Nautilus. And at the same time we were doing that, I was really like kind of hunkering down with this idea of being a solo musician, you know? So yeah, I think 2009, 2010 is like when that kind of started happening.
Cool. So it's like in the back of your mind. But did you have the intention to like go a different route as a solo, like maybe the more blues, or were you like writing acoustic metal songs or something?
Well, in Workhorse, we always had like in our bag of songs, we always had like a couple that had like a little bluesier vibe to it, you know? We were heavily influenced by Clutch, who has a, element of blues in their music now. And so we always threw that in there. So when it was time for me to sort of like ease into being a solo musician, I had at least 30 minutes of bluesy Workhorse songs to work with,
Right on.
And yeah.
And you were mainly you were the rhythm guitar player, right? And you were doing a little lead too, or
I played lead in Workhorse, and
you did. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there were times where like me and the other guitar player would like lock up and stuff for leads, but like
right.
Yeah, that was my thing, and Jay was cool with it because he was super solid rhythmically speaking, like really tight guitar player like Scott Ian.
Yeah, no, that metal shit, you gotta be, man. The palm muting and we get super fast, what have you. All right, when so like 2009, 2010, you're kind of getting into your solo thing more. But you guys, Workhorse never really broke up, or you're just kind of like, hey, I want to pursue this a little more?
Well, we did break up, and then like I had all of this stuff written for an up and coming Workhorse album that we ultimately didn't do, and then like I wrote it, and me and Jay were like, well, we'll just start a new band, and then it became this band Nautilus, which was music meant for Workhorse. And then like over the course of a couple years of it just ended up being the same group of guys,
under a different name. And
yeah,
but that was so how many official Workhorse albums were there?
2.
And then just the one under Nautilus.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. What is Nautilus? What is that?
It's like the shell thing. It's like a mollusk, I think, is what it is, dude.
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's like okay. That'll be in a clip. Just a thing will pop up now. This is what fucking Nautilus is. No.
Yeah. That's it. It was this very, all of this like new music that was meant to be for this Workhorse, new Workhorse album, ended up being this like super proggy, technical, almost like a Rush album, and
experiment with the effects a little more, getting a little
So I wanted the new Workhorse album to be completely different from the previous one. So it was all this like proggy stuff, and it made it easy to name it a different band because it was, damn near a completely different approach to playing what we were playing prior.
That's cool though. You can like do something that different with the same group of guys, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it can be hard, when you have a fan base that wants you to do the metal or whatever, and don't get too proggy on that shit.
Right.
Okay. So, when did you start playing slide? Was that in any of the metal, or is that kind of your back pocket sort of thing?
That was during Workhorse. I got a slide guitar during Workhorse because I wanted to add that to our,
Shit, I need to be more familiar. Obviously, is there a lot of slide in it, or
no, dude? It's just like
to throw it in?
A couple of acoustic tracks here and there that were like mixed in and hardly ever played live, but it was something that I was learning at the time, and like I was good enough at guitar to like write a song on slide and whatnot. And,
right.
Yeah.
And so I guess you kind of like embrace that more when you started doing was it one man band right away, or were you kind of like doing an acoustic thing, or?
I started when I first started out, it was basically like me and a guitar, and I mic'd the floor.
All right, just mic your foot stomping.
Yeah, and which I saw William Elliott Whitmore doing that when he opened for Clutch, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Like I have these kind of heavy bluesier songs now. That'll be perfect, because the approach to me was the idea for me personally with the one man band thing was always to get back to that level of workhorse by myself, and it's taken years to achieve how to do that, but it ultimately started with me learning how to do the one man band thing as simple as possible, which was just like miking your foot, getting comfortable with that, and then like I added tambourine to the other foot, and then I started making my own stomp boxes and shit like that, and it has been like a literal evolution to where I'm at now.
Well, and that's what so that's kind of like what the newest one you put out, that's kind of like getting back to almost that metal sound, but it's still evolved in its own right. Because man, it was a happy surprise, I guess, so to speak. I was like, "Whoa, this is fucking something different," because like I'm always looking for like dope one man bands. You know what I mean? Once you kind of get into that world, keep searching for them. But
it's a strange world, man.
No shit. I mean, you have like ones of all kinds. Like what's like doing Bob Log, the fucking space helmet guy. It's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
What about you ever seen Joe Buck yourself? He's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah, I've played with Joe, dude, a couple times.
Oh shit, of course.
Yeah, he's great.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, the first time I met him, real quick, dude, a funny story. Before I ever played with him, I was working door at a bar in Denver, and he was playing the night I was working, and I had no idea who he was. I was like working, and he come rushing through the front door in a good hurry. And I like kind of grabbed him. I was like, yo, dude, I need your ID. And he fucking looked at me and he goes, I'm Joe Buck. And I'm like, oh, sorry, dude. Like, come on in, But
then you met him again later, like, oh, that was me. No.
Oh, I never told him that story. But I met him years later when I got to open up for him. He was fucking super sweet, like really fucking cool. And
hell yeah.
I like Joe, dude. He's great.
Right on.
There's so many good ones, dude.
I know. And it's people like him or, Scott H. Byram, like they kind of just set off a whole, I don't know, I don't want to say like a trend, but just like its own thing of it, you know what I mean? And I think, I guess from hearing people like them, I always correlate like a swampy blues foot stomping sound with one man bands. Obviously it's cool to do shit that isn't that sound, but like overall I feel like that's kind of like part of a one man band thing, you know what I mean?
For sure. It works well with that, like,
because I guess because if you think of an old blues player, they might be stomping their foot anyways, and you just
porch music,
Yeah, there you go. Fuck yeah. Front porch music. So, okay, so you were miking your foot, just strumming guitar, doing sort of thing, and, I guess kind of doing a different thing vocally and finding your voice in your own right. So how long were you, like, figuring this out before you started one-man banding live?
Well, I started right away. Like I said, I had those like about 30 minutes of material from Workhorse that I could play.
Oh, cool.
So I I
And you're
dove
used to
right,
playing a lot, right?
yeah, I dove right in, man, because I was like, I was extremely nervous about playing solo because I'd never done that before, and that was terrifying. My first show, dude, believe it or not, as a solo musician at the Lion's Lair. Uh,
Nice. Fuck yeah. Full circle.
I, dude, I had consumed so much pregame tequila to squash the uh, jitters before playing that, like, by the time I was done, dude, I took my shit and put it in the van, and I had to sleep in the back of the van. Like,
Yeah.
that's how nervous I was, dude, about playing solo. So I made it a point to just jump right in and figure it out. And
Oh yeah.
yeah,
You still had the drive to want to keep doing it. And still kind of
yeah,
kind of bummed out about the band not working out, but you're like equally as excited about doing something new.
definitely super excited because I knew I knew what I wanted to do with music. That's why I got out of the Navy. I knew that, like, even if I didn't make it big with like the band and MTV and all that bullshit, like the
Right.
career as a musician is still there. Like, as ridiculous as it is to,
Right. Oh, for sure.
The possibility, especially being a solo musician, I was like, I can still express myself, write my songs, play them for people, and like do something in that realm without a band. So like, I knew whether the band was going to make it or not, what I was going to be doing.
Right. And so, were you just kind of gigging front range scene or all over Colorado, anywhere you could at first, sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely, man. I just started booking myself around Denver. You kind of like opening up for people who had rock bands and stuff that I knew. I was also working at the bar that I mentioned where I met Joe Buck, and
What bar is this?
It was called Bender's Tavern.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I know that one.
Yeah, it was an old like rockabilly joint, and I worked there in its later days, like on its way out.
Yeah, okay, right on.
But I owe so much to it, man, because I was just starting out doing my solo thing there. I started out working door there, and I eventually like started bartending, and then I had my own night in the middle of the week, which was a Wednesday songwriter night, and it was like this above elevated open mic kind of thing where it was like, you can't come in and play covers. You sign up like this certain way, you get 3 original songs, and then we move on to the next one. And it was fucking awesome because I met so many aspiring songwriters, and I met this guy Jay, who's an amazing songwriter. He's got a band, Billy the Poet now, but he became my manager.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, he's
I saw some of your videos on his page. Yeah.
Yeah, he was managing me at the time, and he was super helpful about getting me on the road. Because in Workhorse we did very minimal touring. Like we would go to Wichita for a weekend or Albuquerque for a weekend, play a couple shows, and come back. And like I had really not been in the world of touring at all by myself, and
just like a regional kind of bubble for the band sort of thing.
Yeah, he started booking me and managing me, man, and getting me onto festivals and like introducing me to like other people who are like good to network with, and it was great.
Hell yeah. And so and then at the open mic thing, you would perform 3 of your stuff too, so you could like rotate throughout the weeks and what have you, like try new stuff out. And
yeah, it was cool, dude, because it was like I was like bartending, booking it, and then like I would play 2 songs in the beginning and 2 songs at the end of the night. You know what I mean? So it was like super self-indulgent, like
open and close. And would they pay you for the performing too, or
no?
I just the bartending and still
just my bartending shift, and
was it like Randall Presents? You're like, put my name on there.
No, it was. It turned out it originally started as Wednesday night originals, and then like once I had gotten know all of these songwriters, I picked a few of them that, like Jay, the guy who was managing me from Billy the Poet, he and I kind of took this under our wing. And Luke Schmaltz, the owner of Bender's, and we made it this thing called Mutiny Songwriters Society. And it was like, if you're part of this thing, every Wednesday night, you got to come to the table with one new song a week, you know?
Oh, shit.
That's
fucking cool.
It was super cool, man. And even when that bar closed, we took that over to Mutiny Information Cafe on Broadway in Denver, and we did it there. And
nice.
Met even more people that were aspiring to do things, that are doing unbelievable things now, you know, like Larry Nix. I don't know if you know who he is, you know.
Yep.
Met him through the Songwriters Society thing, and yeah.
There's so many great musicians on the front scene in general. But yeah, I guess in that aspect you probably got more of the singer-songwriter kind of storytelling. And with that competition of, doing a song a week, man, that can just bring out so much out of people, you know what I mean? That's fucking cool. That's really cool.
It's
cool when you get a group of people really involved like that, you know what I mean? Because not everyone wants to participate in the group aspect, but that's cool though.
Yeah, it was just cool to challenge each other like that, and then it just like had this element of anticipation. It's like, okay, I know that I have to come to the table with one, obviously, but like I really can't wait to hear what Luke writes about, you know, because the stories that went along with it were so awesome. And then it's like, so like you have this songwriter and he comes to the table and you're expecting this new song from him and he tells you the story about it. And then, you know, or I tell the story and like end up fucking up the song. And it's just like people, all of us laughing at each other. And like, it just was like this pressure to create, but not this pressure to execute the song perfectly, because that's ridiculous in a week's time for some people, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And it was cool. It was just like, I wanted to hear where people were coming from, you know, like we all have things we want to say, fucking let's get it out, you know? And
right. That's
cool.
What it's about, man. I mean, that's what the original art's all about. And I guess in like a subconscious way, you're all like getting influenced by each other. You're like, oh, I could write a song like that. And you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
which just keeps things fresh. And that could be a really good way if you ever get like a writer's block or just feel like you're writing the same shit, you know? You just surround yourself with other great writers. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Especially when it's on the spot like that, see how good. Because sometimes, it doesn't. I mean, really, coming up with a song a week, that's challenging. But obviously, some songs can hit you in a fucking hour, and it's like the best song you ever wrote. So it's like, it doesn't always happen every week. But you know what I mean? It's like to see what you can come up with. Like, oh, did he have like a really awesome one or what have you? Yeah. Or I'm sure there's mediocre ones sometimes, or maybe just goofy ones. Like, this is all I came up with, guys.
Yeah, this is what got me through the week. You know, this is my goofy song. It's 2 minutes. It means absolutely jack shit, you know, but
I had to come up with something. Yeah.
It's about dirty laundry. You know, like it was just like you got that, or you got like some serious shit where, you know, people were, you know, affected by their personal lives or whatnot. Like it ran the gamut of emotions, because that's what fucking songwriting is, you know?
Right. And it's all like, what the fuck happened in the last week, really? You know, it's especially when people are dedicated like that. What are you saying?
It was really cool to be a part of too, man, because as a musician yourself, dude, you know what it's like to want to play to a room of attentive listeners, you know, like, and so every week it was, dude, 12 to 18 songwriters that really gave a shit sitting there listening, all hanging out, encouraging each other. It was like fucking tight, dude, you know?
There's nothing like that, man. And I hope that still exists in a lot of open mics today. You know, obviously the whole cover thing can just be like, it's saturated in a sense, especially probably with open mics as well. But
Yeah.
There's definitely some of them that strive to keep that alive, original songwriters only, or it just, singer-songwriter showcase sort of thing. And
yeah, we didn't want it to be like, we didn't want it to be a platform for people to like come in and like really kickstart their career. We wanted it to be a little more established or whatever, and like, or at least allow people that were into songwriting to come start it that way.
Yeah, right.
We just didn't want like some dude coming in there and being like, oh, this is my attempt at, Come As You Are by Nirvana. And like, that's,
yeah,
which is fine.
Do what you want to do, but it's almost like that's just that much more common to find that. And I think you almost have to work at having a, original thing going, maybe, it's all relative to your scene and how many songwriters you might have in your area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm in like a rural area where it's, the cover thing is huge, and it's like, okay, well, small town shit, but whatever.
Yeah.
But, okay, so let's get back to you're doing the one-man band thing, and I think I saw you, God, when did you open from Byram? 2012 was the first time you opened for them?
Yeah.
And that was, what's that, the King Club, or what is that, Three Kings?
That was actually at Bender's.
Oh, fuck, that was Bender's. Holy shit, dude. I'm totally brain farting. I got pretty hammered that night. Yes, I remember now.
I think that was me, Molly Jean, Joe Buck, and Scott Byram.
No, it was just you opening for him. Are you sure?
There were 2 times. There were 2 times I did play with him. So
I think
the first time was at Bender's though.
Okay.
Because
I would have remembered. I've never seen Molly Jean. Yeah, I would remember that. But.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. I got the homie hookup the first time I opened up for him because I was working at Bender's, and my boss was like, "You've got to have this show," and I'm like, "Oh, awesome! Thank you."
I do have to have this show. And
Turns
was that
out
like
available.
Yeah, was that that was pretty recent to you releasing your first one-man band album? Because I remember I got a CD, or my buddy did at least that night. I've had a copy of it like since then, which is fucking awesome. And it totally. I thought it was a good blend of for you to open for him. You guys had a great mix of similar kind of styles. I mean, he obviously does his own thing, but.
Yeah, for sure. I thought it was a rad show, man. I mean, both of them. From what I remember, I remember the Bender's one a little better.
No, and that's what I was saying. Like, I think I just briefly met you, but I was with my other buddy. His name is Jacob too, and like we were all just like trashed, and I like contact you. You're like, I think I remember, but no. So the other time it was with Joe Buck and Molly Jean. That's fucking awesome. Like 4, one person bands, I should say.
Yeah,
all in one night.
It was a rad night, dude.
Hell yeah. So, you got any, like, awesome highlights besides that of, like, epic one-man band, festival, shows, anything?
I mean, that pertain to being a one-man band specifically, or?
Yeah, or maybe either or. What's, like, a highlight of the metal besides, obviously, maybe meeting Bam Margera or something? Or any bands you open for, or just awesome.
Oh shows? Yeah, dude. Well, I always like to tell this story, dude. And it's cool because it like crosses over from Workhorse and the solo thing. There's a band from Brooklyn called the Giraffes.
Okay, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, they're without question one of my favorite rock bands of all time, and I highly encourage them, if you have any rock and roll inside of you, to go check them out as soon as we're done and like dive in.
Hell yeah.
We got to open up for the Giraffes as Workhorse, and which was awesome. And then I got to open up for them as a one man band.
Oh no shit!
Cool too, yeah. So the Giraffes to me, man, are like one of the raddest rock and roll bands ever, and like to be able to like play with those guys in both of those, it was really, what I'm trying to say is it was really cool to be able to do that as a solo musician, and it made me feel like I wasn't just supposed to be lumped in with like roots musicians in music, which I'm not trying to talk shit about. Like I'm only saying like it was always a goal of mine when I started doing this to play rock and roll, and like that was kind of a pivotal moment when they were like, hey, come play with the Giraffes, you know what I mean? I was like, perfect, dude. Now I know that like I can mix it up with other genres of music.
Right. So you kind of like cater to, you're like, okay, I'm opening for these guys, so I'm going to do more of this rock and roll shit. And
exactly.
That their crowd would be into. So when was that? What year was that?
Oh man, when was that? That was, I don't know, 2015 maybe?
Right on. And so was this, they came through Denver or?
Yeah, they when they tour, when they get out of New York, dude, they usually just like hit up a spot for like a weekend. You know, they fly out, borrow or rent gear, and then play 2 or 3 nights and then go back, which is great. You know, they draw so well. Their show is magnificent. Like they can make it work that way. That's awesome. You know.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So, did they remember you by chance or?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, cool.
Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you were like obviously expressed how much awesome you thought they were. And
yeah, I think it's no secret to that crew how much I love them, dude. Like since moving to Texas, I've reached out to them and I was like, hey, how much is it going to take to get you guys to do that here? You know, now that I live here, what's the price, you know? And I'm trying to get that to work.
Hell yeah.
You know,
maybe this podcast will help that. So put it out there. Giraffe.
Yeah.
The Giraffe snippet here. Yeah, I'll definitely check them out, man. I love some rock and roll or more modern type of thing. I definitely have heard the name. I mean, not just because I love giraffes, the animal, but you know.
Dude, check them out and start with the Prime Motivator album.
All right, Prime Motivator.
It's a good, you know, it's a good album in the middle of their catalog that will send you either, you know, towards old stuff, towards new stuff. Like it's a good starting point.
With the Prime being in their prime, maybe no.
Prime Motivator, yeah.
All right, so as a one man band, you know how many like states you played? Where all you been? Or
man, you know, I'm not quite sure how many states.
Have you kind of done like a lot of Midwestern thing, just like slowly expanding little north? Because I know you've done like the Pond Stock in like Nebraska. Yeah. I mean, that's right next door, I guess, Colorado. Sure. But have you branched out to like I'm from Wisconsin originally, like that area, Midwest?
Yeah, man. I've played as far north as Wisconsin, as far south as.
Used to play in what that Eau Claire bar. I used to see you. Like, oh shit. Yeah, dude, I grew up like 3-4 hours from there, but
no way.
Fucking classic bar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a super rad spot, man. I love Wisconsin, dude.
They like to party.
No kidding, dude. It's unbelievable.
Well, they're the type that like you drink a 6 or 12 pack before you go to the bar, and then you know, and you got to have that afterwards at least. I mean, honestly, yeah, I don't drink as much probably because I grew up there, but yeah, it's a huge part of their tradition. But okay, so what? You played in like 30 states, 40?
Probably, yeah, between 30 and 40, I think.
Right on. But predominantly, you've been pushing the Denver Front Range scene. That's kind of where you built up your name the most. And then, what brought you to Texas? When did this happen? How the hell did I miss this?
Oh, just family stuff. My wife owns a salon in Austin, and
Right on. Austin's an awesome place.
it really is. Yeah, man. It's a good place to be for a songwriter, dude. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's cool, man. I within a year or so of living here, dude, I was offered a residency at the Hole in the Wall, which is like super old school Austin joint, dude. And
Okay.
yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's hard to make money in Austin, but that's no secret, you know.
Competition's a little stiffer.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, when did you move there? You've been there 2 years, or?
It'll be 3 years in September.
Okay. Right on. So, end of 2017.
Yeah.
You decided. So you had been pretty much living in the Colorado area, born and raised, aside from traveling and what have you. That was kind of your main residence.
Yep.
Lived in many.
And came back, man.
Yeah. Right. Okay. And so, shit, what was I gonna say? Fuck. I don't know. Oh, and then so the newest album. Remind me what it's called.
Bali Song.
And that was recorded down there.
In Denver, yeah.
Oh, it was in Denver.
Right.
But it wasn't released till like a year ago?
Yeah, dude, because that was like the Bali Song album was originally released as a book. So I don't know if you ever saw that or not, but it was like this concept of like, I think it was 21 songs or something, which is 3 chapters.
Oh, yeah.
It was like this big geeky theme concept album that was released originally as a download card with a hardback book that had lyrics and pictures and like all of this stuff.
And that was available for a while, right?
Yeah, it took 2 years to do the full project. It was like recording all those songs in between tours and like putting together a book, which was a whole nother artistic endeavor that like I had fucking no clue how to do, but like,
dude, that's crazy.
It was cool, man. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, all that stuff was recorded in Denver, and then like wrapped it all up around the time that I moved here. Released it from here.
Okay, so you released it shortly after. I must have just saw, I don't know, something that said it was probably delayed, but I don't know. Yeah, it sucks because I probably went, because like I said, I left Colorado 2016, probably pretty much a year before you.
Okay.
And it's weird how it's kind of like you're just going to, you just like lose touch of the scene, I guess. You get to know the scene while you're there, and then you get to know a new scene. You're like, oh, wait a second, all those people from the old one, and fucking I don't know.
Yeah.
Cause shit, you have the 2 albums, right?
Yes.
The original. Oh shit! What's the other one?
3 total albums. I have the first one, a Sail On that I did after that, and then Bali.
Oh. Wait, so I must have the what's the first one called? The 3
Hounds and Hobos. With
yeah,
the dog
that's what
on
I got.
it?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I got. Because that's what you had that at that Byram show.
Right.
So, I guess I probably couldn't find the second one online.
It's being remastered or remixed right now.
Okay, cool. They're gonna put it all digital platforms.
Yeah, or the guy I recorded it with, he requested, after getting some new gear, if he could remix it. I was like, yeah, man, I'll take it down, and we'll put like a different version of another song on there as a bonus, to re-release it or whatever.
Hell yeah.
So I took it down for the time being, which is why you probably couldn't find it or anything.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, because I think I remember. Yeah, because that was probably you were probably pushing that one, probably because what we did. What show did we did? Oh, that little place, the Seventh Circle.
Seventh Circle, yeah.
Collective, which that was kind of a, I don't know, weird night or something, but interesting place. I think you were like pushing that one, or is about to come
Yeah.
out, the second one.
Yep.
Something like that. It's all coming back slowly.
That's exactly right.
Right on. And so and so now your setup is you're like full drum sets for everything you're kicking, as opposed to when I saw you then, you had like the tambourine attached to a washboard.
Yeah.
You would kick, and then what? I think that was probably you had the homemade stomp box, right?
Yep.
With a kick drum pedal.
Yeah, I stomped on a box that had a speaker in it that I ran through an amp, like a subwoofer, you know?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. It looked like you're like literally stepping on the circle of it, right? Like the bass where it vibrates, or no?
No, it was like under the box mounted to the top, you know what I mean? So like if you like flipped it over, there's a speaker that was like mounted to it, and I'd stomped on the wood that just like made the speaker act like a microphone, you know?
Oh, yeah. That's fucking cool.
And then I ran it through a bass amp just to give it thump and whatnot.
And your kick is your left foot, right?
Right. Yeah.
So your snare is your right. I'm the fucking opposite, man. That's so weird.
Most people are. Like, that's a lot of like what one-man bands say to me. They're like, oh, you stomp with your left foot. And, you know, when I started, I was miking the floor. It made more sense to stomp with my left foot because my guitar rests on my right leg, you know? So
you're not bouncing your guitar up and down, yeah.
Yeah. So I just eventually committed to, this is how I play drums in my one-man band thing, you know?
And then you kick, like you're using pedals under each foot, right? You're not, well, besides from that setup, you were kicking an actual box, and then
I was stomping.
Your right foot's always been a pedal, kicking
Yes.
Right. See, that's another thing, because I use both of my heels. Like I can never get used to the drummer. I don't know, like using the front of your feet. I suppose.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to build that shit up in your fucking ankles. You know, your calves,
Sure.
I should say.
Yeah.
Huh.
And like I knew for fucking ever, dude. Like at some point, I'm like, I have to make the switch to real drums in order for me to play the foot percussion that I want to, you know. I can get like trickier with kick pedals, you know, and you know, add different syncopation that way versus like my more rootsier stuff where like all you can really do is stomp, at least for me, you know, like all
just that consistent, that consistent thump throughout the whole song. So what is, oh, sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. I was just gonna say, and that was like killing my knees, dude. Like,
oh yeah,
stomping on wood box, you know, and like a lot of the times I was wearing boots and like it was destroyed my left knee, dude.
When I was told, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I was playing this farmer's market, and that like it's really good to keep your hips above your knees. Cause like, so you want to have your chair higher up, cause it can just like blow your hips out. I guess it's a big problem with drummers, cause like, you know, if you're thinking if your knees are above your hips, it's just like really bad posture. You're like stomping, and you're, cause I think my hips probably bother me the most, but yeah, my fucking knees hurt too. So,
dude, yeah, my hips bother me too, dude. It's doing this is the worst thing that we could have ever done for our bodies, dude.
Oh no, shit. Well, it's like, I don't know about you, but I've gotten like, you know, basically mandatory so much into stretching. Like I have to fucking stretch.
Oh yeah.
At least before the show, like some type of yoga-ish something, you know, just like
absolutely.
I'll just be fucking useless if not, but.
I started doing yoga with my wife this year, like actually going, you know, like so I'm pretty flexible on my own. I've always been into stretching and stuff, but I actually went with her and I was like, this is amazing. Like,
well, it's even just the learning to breathe and stretch and how much more you can like get out of it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it can kind of be, you know, whatever, like time consuming, like to go through the whole all the poses, I suppose. Right. But it's really good for you. You know, if you can do it, more power to you. But oh shit. Okay, so how long have you been doing with the Fuller drum set? It's pretty recent, or
maybe
2-3 years?
2 years, 2.5 years. 2 years.
So kind of like since you got down there, you're like, I need to fucking up my game.
Yeah.
And it's always been kind of the back of your head you want to do more with songs. So do you have like two different snare options or like a tom or?
No, dude, my focus with the drumming as far as my feet are concerned is to just like all the stuff that I'm working on currently for my next album is very rock and roll driven, and it's just kind of part of like how I've been operating is like taking an idea and like just like chiseling it away until it's become something that I want. Like now my newer stuff is like straight up rock and roll. It's got like very syncopated drum beats, you know what I mean? Like more rock beats versus like just four on the floor stuff.
Right.
You know, it's very fuzzed out rock, and
So you're kind of like trying to do like what a drummer does more, as opposed to what you almost expect from a one man band, the stomp.
Yeah,
Sort of thing.
and
The stomp boogie.
my newer stuff is like basically what I've been trying to do is like, okay, I'm gonna pick this beat, you know, that I can do with my feet. That's like pretty complicated or enough, you know, and then like build around that versus like the old way of like, here's the riff, put a stomp to it, you know. And
So is that so you kind of like writing more on the spot in that sense, like let the music get written first? Because I know it can almost like, you know, restrain you when you like write lyrics to a guitar and you're like, I have to, you know, almost like write it like how, I don't know, how it came on the instrument first, as opposed to like you have no lyrics or music written, you just kind of like the beat comes first.
yeah, that's always
I've like always wanted to do that, man. So
yeah, that's always kind of how I've operated, is like put the music together first and then, you know, format a melody, pick the topic, and then vomit the lyrics.
Oh, okay. So you've always done okay. Yeah, see, I've always been kind of lyrics first, but almost like restrains you to like, I gotta keep this melody and this is how the song goes, and then like in the process it almost like conflicts it. So you're kind of like more, you let the music speak for itself first.
Definitely. I mean, because that's like how I've always operated, is like being in heavier bands. It's like you go in with the riff, you know, and then the drummer comes in, and then it's like, oh, let's add this part, and like, you know, then you have the structure of the song, and then it's like, okay, now what's this about?
Right.
And so I've always taken that approach, but now I'm more like drums first instead of riff first, you know.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So that I can just progress as a foot drummer, you know, because that's what I just kind of want to do. You know, I want my music to be more rock and roll. And
what's like a good example of like a rock and, like, I think I know what you're referring to, like a rock and roll beat. Are you talking like you know, like the kind of the boogie, like the I don't know, Great Balls of Fire shit, or you talking more the Chuck Berry, or neither of those?
You know, like I mean, I say
rock and roll so broad, right?
Yeah, you know, like I say rock beat, and that's just kind of like my way of saying anything that really isn't just like before I'd be like boom, 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 boom with my kick drum, and if I wanted to add snare, I'd be like boom, boom, ka, boom, you know, like now it's like dun, 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 you know, like doing more dynamic footwork versus like straight ahead stomping, you know.
Oh shit! So that's like wearing on your feet. It's like a whole nother challenge, right?
Yeah, but it's been awesome because I could play drums before doing a one-man band thing, and now like making that switch over to regular drums, I can apply the like, you know, foot dynamic that you can get away with, like that I wasn't able to do just stomping on wood, you know.
Totally.
I can do like, you know, double taps on the bass like all day long, and it just adds a different element to my music. And I always knew that like I had to make the switch to achieve the rock and roll thing that I'm going for. You know.
Would you ever like record yourself playing drums just for a studio, for a song, or You
Oh
kind of
yeah,
want to
like be
stick
my own
to.
studio drummer.
Yeah, as opposed to doing it live, one man band or what have
Yeah,
you.
for sure, definitely. And I think that's like eventually what I will do. Right now, I'm trying to save up for a situation where I can record myself and
Yeah,
stop
it's
going into
pretty.
studios.
It's pretty feasible nowadays, and yeah, I mean, I did this whole campaign thing to like raise funds for a studio, which in the end just seemed like so overpriced, but I just made it a point to like really pay attention to everything they were using, and like I could fucking do this shit at home. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And I'm sure you've recorded enough at other studios where you already have a ear or a knack for certain things. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know
definitely.
how much you do in like editing and whatnot, but that's kind of the headache, the
Yeah,
engineering and whatnot.
I think it definitely makes sense, dude. If you're a one man band, like
Mm.
you know what you're trying to achieve, and that is the best way to do it is to record all of your own shit and then listen to it without. I mean, it's nice to have input and stuff like that, but when you're in a studio, there all other things come along with that, personalities and whatnot, that even if they're good can hold you back on some level versus like me, who's extremely private about my process, and when I'm doing
Yeah.
it. But if I can like go into a room, press record and like dissect all of my shit, I think that's going to quicken the process of finding the uniqueness in all of it.
Yeah, well, and just have that comfort of, not taking up studio time and doing things at your leisure, and
Yeah.
that gives you a lot of freedom. But like with what you just said, I swear to God, just having someone to come in and push the fucking record button could be such a huge thing, because like I have like 6 mics set up, and the guitar plugged in for everything, one man band, and you're like, oh fuck, I forgot to push record. You're like behind all the mics. It's like the recorder's like 10 feet away. Like,
Yeah,
fuck.
and then you gotta walk over mountains of gear to get to
Yeah,
it.
you're like trying not to, press your guitar against the mic. And then that's the whole thing. Once you actually push record, like I'm just gonna let it go for like an hour and keep fucking playing, But
That's pretty much the way you got to do it. Is like, okay, we're live now.
yeah, and I like that aspect of that. Of like, I almost feel like I would never want to record a one man band song with the track separate. It just seems like, why would I record the stomp box separately? I don't know if you've ever done it that way. It just seems like.
Yes, dude, I did that for that whole last album, and it was like,
Well,
it was.
I guess you could
It
tell
was
it's a little more
necessary.
fine tuned, but
What's that?
you could tell that album's a little more fine tuned. It still sounds great, but what you said it was necessary, or?
Yeah, it was necessary because of just the situation of that album, dude. It was like I had all these ideas for songs, and during periods of like in between touring, I would go up to my buddy Matt's house who recorded me and like be like, okay, here's the idea. And then he's like, okay, well, let's get the guitar down and then we'll worry about the drums. You know what I mean? So it was like
Oh, right.
same old band format, riff first, drums later, then all this other shit on top of it, And
And so,
what I'm doing now is completely opposite. It's like I'm going to do all of it at the same time. And,
yeah, it just kind of makes, to me, it always just made more sense that way. And then essentially, you record the song 3 to 5 times, taking the best take, If you're slick enough with some studio magic, you could like take little things from other takes and mix them in and whatnot. But
right.
it's a whole other thing too. Like recording with a metronome as a one man band, you're like all these things you're hearing, and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You realize how much you suck at staying on time or something.
Yeah. I'd like to think though that if you're committed to the world knowing that you are doing a one man band thing, that the world should forgive you for those things, because hey, dude, you're juggling a lot of different shit. If the wagon starts leaning one way, dude, and you can write it, hey man,
right.
you still driving. It's all good.
But it's also like the beauty of the live show, and it's like it's not like a band. If you slow down, like everything's gonna slow down, not just the bass player. You know, if you speed up, your whole fucking song's gonna speed up, not just the fucking drummer. So that's kind of like, I just look at it. Yeah, it's part of the live performance. So that should be accepted for sure. But I'm sure you've watched a video of you afterwards. You're like, oh fuck, I sped up at that part or whatever.
Oh, totally, dude. I just about like avoid watching any live performance of myself because I'm like, I know that shit's gonna be in there. You know?
Right.
Like,
well, of course, we're our own worst critics. You know, we recognize the flaws the most, but
right.
But shit, man. Yeah. Anything else you want to put out there or into the ether?
Shit, man. I guess that's all I got. That was pretty much my life story.
That's your musical life story. That's what I try to get out of people. I guess. What about where all did you go in the Navy? Any cool like around the world sort of thing?
Oh yeah, man. Been to Australia, been to Hawaii, Singapore, Thailand,
cool.
The Middle East. You know,
stationary. You were stationed there temporarily, sort of thing.
No, our ship would just like pull in to ports. You know what I mean? So like, when you're serving on a ship, you know, you go out on a deployment for 6 months or whatever. They schedule port calls, you know, and I was based out of San Diego, so our first stop would be Hawaii every time that we went on deployment, and then we would, we'd cruise up to like South Korea and like hit like Southeast Asia and stuff like that, and go up to the Gulf, turn around, come back, hit Australia, come back home, hit Hawaii, and you know.
That's crazy. And then I guess that's where you have the luxury of doing it. Like, who can those are the ships that can go anywhere, you know, without any question, you know, like that's crazy. Like, yeah, let's just go up there for a few days or maybe more than a few days, but that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Quite an experience.
Definitely.
But, yeah, I guess, so what what is the next thing you're going to put out? It's going to be a while. You're kind of in that process.
Well, I mean, I've been taking this life hiatus that we're all going through to just fine tune these 13 songs that I've been working with that I want to put out next.
Right on.
Yeah. You know, I'm constantly like creating stuff. So I have a process, you know, like a filter where how it all starts and becomes a song. And I have a group of 13 now that are, for the most part, just about ready to go. But now I'm like, you know, I'm rehearsing the fuck out of them.
Right. I was going to say, are there any like previews yet? Or are they all kind of still in your room or your practice space?
Yeah, they're all just, I'm working on basically recording demos of them, you know, so when the time comes that I can go into a studio, I'll be ready to rock and roll, you know, no questions asked. And so I'm essentially playing studio on my own.
Right on. That's cool.
But I do have a single that I'm going to put out, hopefully in like a month or so. I recorded it on my last tour with my buddy Matt, who recorded all of my previous stuff.
What's the song called? Single?
It's called Low Gravity. It's an interesting song about a night that I had too many weed cookies, and
that's good. A song came out of it.
What's that?
And a great song came out of it.
Yeah, it was a funny story, and I was telling the story at my residency at the Hole in the Wall, and they were like, "Oh man, you should write a song about it." And I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." So I wrote the song, and I named it Low Gravity, which is in honor of this metal band from Denver. They used to be called Low Gravity. Buddies of mine that like I've played with and stuff like that. Stoner rock kind of stuff.
Oh hell yeah!
Cool. So it's like a fuzzy one-man band stoner rock song about weed cookies.
Fuck yeah! Has like the stoner rock vibe in the music sort of thing.
Yeah.
The blues.
It's not to be taken seriously, but it's a great song. I mean, it's not a great song. It's really one of my favorite songs to like play live because it's just not to be taken seriously, you know?
Right. Just to have fun with it. And
yeah.
It's a funny story, I take it. Maybe appropriately be released by 420.
That's a great idea, dude.
It's like 3 weeks. I was just thinking about it. Well, and that's what I was gonna say too. This maybe this will be out by then, but maybe not. But we could be talking about it, and maybe you'll have I don't know, like a live video, or is there a live video of it out there?
No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've been playing it live on some sets and stuff, so that might be out there. I'm gonna do a live show at some point.
Okay.
I'll play it. But the way we're going to release it is part of this longer version of a song, a collaboration that I did with Matt, the recording engineer. We did this cover of Inagata Devita.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And it's this like mashup with a Black Sabbath song. And like what Matt does, he's almost like a rap producer, you know what I mean? Like he orchestrates all of this like heavy metal music, you know, like puts drums to it, writes his own guitar and stuff like that. So like he orchestrated this Inagata Devita Black Sabbath mashup, and I sang on it. And we're going to release it as one track. My song, Low Gravity, that goes into that one, you know?
Oh, shit, dude. That's a trip. And Low Gravity will be the one-man band style, and then it goes into the full band.
It goes into this, you know.
Dude, that's perfect for 420. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, totally, dude. But we're in the process right now where he's like bouncing mixes back and forth to me. So like it's close, you know.
Okay.
He's
cool.
You know, like, hey, what do you feel about this mix? And they're like, yeah, we'll take this out or whatever, you know. Just doing that right now, so it's close.
Yeah, man, excited to hear. And like I said, if you have even, you know, any sort of video of it, even, you know, in the next month or so, I could like use it for a clip or whatnot.
Yeah, man,
it's cool to promote something current, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we were definitely thinking about trying to home make a video for it, since you know, what else can we do? You know, it's like making a video on your phone isn't all that complicated, and why not, you know?
Well, so you already got all your parts done. He's just sending you, like you say, different mixes. So, yeah, because I was going to say, even if you had like phone video of you actually singing it, that would, you know, people love that shit.
Yeah.
You just got to lip sync something, man, with a guitar and send that shit to me. Like, this is the unofficial Stoner video.
Hell yeah, dude.
And then and so what I guess while we're all on this break, as of what you know, when is your next show? I might not be playing till May supposedly, but
dude, yeah, I mean May. I think I had a tour booked for late May.
Oh shit. Where are you going?
It was all revolving around Pawnstock.
Oh, okay, right.
You know,
you're booked at that again.
What's that?
So you're booked at that again.
Yeah.
If it's
I built a tour around that. That, you know, that would be my next thing that hasn't been canceled. I had a tour in April that's like not going to happen.
Right. See what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope for the best, man. I mean, shit. I don't know. Crazy shit going on.
Weird, man. I never imagined in my lifetime I would be dealing with something like this, dude. It's quite an eye-opener.
Yeah, I know. I can't imagine, like I said, I'm in a rural area, so like being in somewhere as populated as Austin, I guess you kind of just puts things in perspective more. You think about shit more. I mean, I guess everyone's thinking about shit more, but it's a little easier to like get used to being a recluse, you know, when you're already out in the sticks. Like, as you might
sure.
know.
Yeah. That's awesome. Good for you though, dude. I mean, to me, that's the way it should be.
Well, I mean, yeah. Are you like, have you left the house much, or are you just
to
little
go to
things?
the store and shit, you know, like,
yeah. trying to stay
definitely
healthy.
doing our part to stay home as much as possible, man.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. And yeah, of course, there's people who don't give a fuck and they're just like, yeah, whatever. But supposedly the U.S. is like the worst now. But
yeah, we're number one.
And it's just like, it's not too surprising. Because, yeah, I can't, like, the amount of people I saw in the last 2 weeks saying like it wasn't real or it's conspiracy. And it's just like, man, come on, guys. Like, all you have to do is look at other countries and what have you. And
it's really quite bizarre, dude. Like, I just don't understand how, I don't know, how some people in this country, like, can say things like that, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I think it's just people are that uneducated, and it's, I mean, now they say there's like 8 or 9 types of it. So it's like, for people to even try to be aware of something that, you know, you can spread and be oblivious to, or, well, yeah, or people can be have no symptoms and still spread it. And
yeah,
I don't even know, man, but it's crazy. I mean, we always practice like healthy living and shit anyways, so it just kind of like puts things even more into perspective, or to pursue things that way. But
yeah,
it's also like just this weird place. You're like, am I gonna get back to work? Like, are things gonna go back to normal? Like, will society? I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
I think I could survive.
Like, I hope it's a mix, man. I mean, like, I definitely want some things to go back to normal, but it would also be nice to see a huge wake up call for our species, man. You know, not to get too deep down the rabbit hole, but like, it's unfortunate that we're going through this, but goddamn, man, we definitely need a slap in the face. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I could speak for my own country that I don't think we're doing all that we can.
like, right. And it's just a matter of, it just kind of shows how, you know, your average person is so just like, I don't know, consumed with this society. Just to go a brief period without it, people just like lose their shit. And it's almost just like a reminder. You kind of always have to keep a distance, or I guess like know or know who you are without it, even if you always have it, you know. And that's, you take it for granted, I guess. But
definitely,
it's people are losing their shit for sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just like, do I want to get on Facebook today? Because you don't know what the fuck you're gonna see and who's freaking out, and yeah,
totally.
That's a whole nother podcast. Yeah, exactly. Right. Especially on your morning shit, like, it will fuck up your day. Don't do it.
Yeah, start off on the wrong foot instantly.
It's a bad habit, man. I don't know. Oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
Well, it was good talking to you, man. Time usually flies by quick with a good conversation. And
thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah, thanks for being on the podcast. I'll keep you posted. What I usually do is I'll put the whole episode up unlisted, and then you can watch it first. And, you know, if there's anything you want cut out, obviously I'll cut out shit that we're talking about, making clips and what have you. But cool. And then what is it? It's almost April Fool's tomorrow. So, yeah, probably, I don't know, by May it'll be out. Hopefully, maybe by the time we're starting to get back to work or some shit. But
right on.
And then simultaneously, I'll try to do some clips. Yeah, now I want to try to maybe do like a workhorse clip. I could use any of that music. That's all good?
Yeah, definitely.
Find you like rocking out at some live show. And
I don't know how much YouTube stuff is on there. There might be some stuff. I haven't looked in a minute, but that we're definitely on like Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff. There's definitely a workhorse album out there.
I wonder what I could get away with the BAM thing, the legality, because that would be kind of interesting thing to show. But you don't remember what the show was called?
I think it was BAM's Unholy Union.
Oh, that's right, Unholy Union, and the song is 4. Okay, you never know, man. People push shit up. Someone might have posted every episode ever of that show online somewhere. So.
You know, like a couple years ago, I went back and I looked for it, and like I found the actual clip with the song. I also found it listed as part of the soundtrack for the season/episode that it was associated with. So,
fuck yeah, dude.
It's
I think
out
there's
there.
a 3-second rule. So,
what's that?
I think there's like a 3-second rule if I were to use any of that.
Who knows, man?
I think it is. But and then is the song for like is that available anywhere online or
no?
Just not on your
our first album, so that's like not available anywhere.
Do you even have it?
I have it, yeah.
Right. Cool.
I should put that up. You know, we definitely talk about that. You know, like
put it on like Bandcamp or something. You know, so it's not on the whole digital prowess or what have you. Kind of like an EP or something.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, right on, brother. It's good talking to you. Good seeing you again. I'll be in touch. Let you know when this shit's going down.
Thanks, man.
Stay healthy, man. Stay inside, I guess. How warm is it there? What's the degrees there today?
It's like 70 something today.
Shit, that ain't bad. It's almost 50 here,
nice.
So it's pretty surprising. It's a warm one here. All right, man. Good talking to you.
Be good, bro.
Yep.
See ya.